guys. Thanks for coming out, fellas and ladies. Everyone.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, man. How has the weekend been going?
Been really good. Yeah, perfect size con for me. I get to talk to people, and sometimes if I'm at cons that have 20,000 people, I always feel bad because I do like to chat with everyone and get to know everyone, and the lineups are so long that it's just I hate taking up 2 hours of people's lives. So this is really cool to do it a little more intimate, you know.
Yeah, it's a more chill environment.
Yeah, it is.
Convention.
Yeah, for
a little
sure.
more laid back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, early on, you were a gold medalist water skier.
Yeah.
Tell
How
us
did
about
you
that.
find that stuff out?
Hey, man,
Well,
we did a research.
It wasn't like I really set out to be this competitive water skier. It's just that I grew up in the northern part of British Columbia, Canada, and I lived on a lake, and I didn't have a neighbor for about 3 miles. So my brothers and I would water ski a lot, and I just happened to get good at it. And then there was a regatta one time that my father entered me in, and I did this slalom course, and so I just ended up being good at that sport. It was the only thing that I could do in the summers because I lived so remote, and yeah, so I just ended up being a competitive water skier for a while. Yeah.
So you did like the jumps and stuff?
Yeah, I did jumps, I did trick, and I did slalom. Yeah.
Hey, Friday the 13th, Crystal Lake, they need a
Yeah.
water skier.
Yeah.
There you go.
If I water ski away from Jason, that'll be me.
Speaking to that physicality, though, I mean, you are obviously a comedic actor. You do some drama roles. Did you ever think about becoming like a stunt person with?
Oh, stunt stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been pretty physical just with, because I have a hockey background as well. That's kind of what I did before I was an actor. And, I've done lots of my own sort of things in movies that have needed to be done that way, but I've never ever thought about being a professional stunt person. No, I'll leave that to those guys.
So your goal was to be a pro hockey player?
Yeah, okay, so the same lake that I water skied on was mostly frozen where I lived, so I skated on it too. So I skated on the lake as well. And my brothers, all of us we just became good hockey players, and I moved on to play at a higher level. And then I had a really bad leg injury playing hockey, and that's kind of what forced my hand, or how I discovered the film world, because I was in Vancouver, Canada at the time, and I was starting to meet people that were involved in the film stuff in Vancouver, and which led me to getting involved, and then I got an agent in Vancouver, and then the very first job I ever had was I had a small part on the first year of the TV show 21 Jump Street. So I remember standing on set looking around thinking, wow, I can't believe that I'm getting paid to do this. And a guy walked up to me and he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, hey bro, I'm going to grab a Coke from craft service. Can I get you something? And I went like, no, thanks. And he goes, oh, hey, by the way, my name's Johnny. And I went, oh, hey, Johnny, my name's Lochlyn. And he goes, yeah, okay, well, I'll see you in a bit. And I went, all right. And honestly, I remember when he walked away from me and I watched him and I was like, I'm not sure if I've ever met a movie star, but I think that guy might be one. Yeah. And that was Johnny Depp.
He just had that energy.
He just had full-on star quality for sure, that guy. Yeah.
A little connection there, because obviously he went on to do a Nightmare on Elm Street. So.
Well, he did that before, though.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, that's
good. He had done, before 21 Jump Street, he did Elm Street, and then he also, not a lot of people know this, but he was in the movie Platoon. He was the interpreter that when they would go through the villages, he was the soldier that would interpret the language.
Says he was hitting a bombing raid.
He wasn't in the movie. Like, he wasn't in the movie that much, but he was in there. And then 21 Jump Street was kind of the show that catapulted him, as far as catapulting him into film and television.
Have you ran into him recently at all? Or
No, I mean
over the years.
when I first started to move to LA, I'd see him out a little bit. But no, it'd be kind of, I mean, I would say it'd be interesting to run into him, but I doubt he even remembers the moment. I'm sure he doesn't remember the moment as much as I do.
You might be surprised. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he might go, hey man, I remember you, right? Yeah, I doubt it, but yeah, it'd be interesting to chat with him. He's an interestingly odd and eccentric person, you know, but he's very talented. I think he's an amazing actor.
So speaking of big stars, I mean, you worked with a lot of big people over the years. Have you ever been starstruck or intimidated on set?
No, no, I shouldn't say that. Okay, so I've never really been fully starstruck pretty much twice in my life. The very first time I was pretty young. I was really fortunate to do a movie called Unforgiven, which was directed by Clint Eastwood, and so that was the very first Western I'd ever done, and the very first day that I was on set, because when you audition for Clint Eastwood, he doesn't like to meet people in person because he feels bad to say no to people. So even before the day of auditioning now, which we all do just on tape, that's how he would audition people, just on tape. And so the very first day I met him was, that was a moment, being on set with him.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And then the only other time for me that was kind of like a moment was Cuba Gooding and I used to play hockey together lots in LA. Like, I played on a team that would go around and we do charity events and stuff. And while he was filming Jerry Maguire, he invited Tom Cruise out to play hockey with us. And I didn't know he was coming out, and I happened to get to the rink a little bit early, and I went into the dressing room, and Tom Cruise was sitting in the dressing room going through his hockey bag of his equipment, and I just, and this was like 96 or so, right? So, I mean, Cruise probably still is, but in 1996, he was the guy.
He was the man.
There wasn't a bigger movie star. And so that was kind of a weird moment for me, because I sat in the dressing room with him for about 10 minutes, just kind of rapping about stuff, and he was asking me about how to put his hockey gear on and stuff like that. It was kind of
That must have been great to have
Yeah.
him, talking about hockey with you being a big
Yeah, it was a weird moment. Yeah. So those are kind of the only two real big ones. I mean, I've been really work with a lot of bigger name actors, but because they're in the same profession as I am, it doesn't feel as odd to me as if I was to meet a really, really famous musician. That would be a bit more weird for me, I think.
Yeah, two different industries,
Yeah.
but same level.
I mean, we're all human beings too, so really, who cares?
Yeah, that's right. You're a musician as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you play?
I played, through high school, I played drums and I sang. And then when I broke my femur playing hockey, I taught myself to play guitar. And then I played in all these pubs around Vancouver and up at the ski resort, Whistler Ski Resort, if you've ever heard of that. And that's how I started to meet people that were more in the arts and entertainment industry, by playing music.
Yeah, broken femur.
I had broken femur,
That's like the worst one.
It sucked.
What's the recovery time like?
It felt like a year and a half, but I mean, it was definitely a good 10-month recovery for sure. Like, I couldn't even skate really well for, it felt like a year and a couple months.
And hey, I guess it led to your acting career in a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was some kind of divine intervention. I don't think it needed to be that traumatic, mind you, but
Life is weird like that.
it's like, come on, God, if you're going to give me a sign, did it have to be that?
Didn't have to break my body.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So how did your relationship with the Wayans Brothers start?
Honestly, right from just an audition.
For Scary Movie?
For Scary Movie, I went in, I met with Keenan, and we just goofed around in the audition, and they felt I was the guy, and from there, it, butted into White Chicks, Little Man, Behind the Smile, and Dan Smith, I think it was, Dan Smith, yeah. So really, really a lot of fun. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. Is that better?
There we go.
I'm trying to talk loud and project myself because I'm a television actor. I'm not a theater actor. Okay, so so it all worked itself into working with them on other projects, and I'm really, really grateful because they are an amazing family, great sense of humor, hardworking people, just really, really cool people. So,
And just to go back to Scary Movie, it's
Yeah.
one of our favorites. I remember seeing it in the theater in 2000 when it came out.
Yeah.
Probably too young. I was like 10. But
Yeah.
we quote that movie. And your line specifically, we were telling you a little bit constantly. Comedic timing is perfect. We wanted to know how much improv was there on set, if there were any, or was it like strict on the page?
well, the way that they work is they shoot what they've written, and then they basically challenge you to bring stuff to the table, which I love. Like they really do. I mean, if you are going to do a Wayans film and you aren't prepared to improv, not a good thing.
So that's a prerequisite. Like you need.
It pretty much is. And the great thing about the guys is that they hold no judgments either. Like I remember Keenan really sort of getting into our heads that there's no vanity in comedy. So to just go for it, if it doesn't work, who cares, right? We'll try something else. So that's what I really, really enjoyed about those guys, is that, a lot of the stuff you saw in Scary Movie was improv around their Bible, right? Or it was the stuff they've written, but with a mix of things here and there. But
Right.
yeah, every actor on Scary Movie really did bring a lot of their own stuff.
So was the "Where's the foot"? Was that?
No, that was no.
That's our favorite line.
Where's the foot?
Oh my God, we hit a boat! Where's the foot?
Yeah. No, it was that was written. I can't take credit for that. Yeah.
But the way it was said, it just elevates the
Yeah.
line.
Well,
It's so
here's the thing: is that Keenan kind of gave us an assignment when we did Scary Movie, and I mean, my character. I mean, obviously, you guys know if you saw. I Know What You Did Last Summer. He said, "Okay, have you seen the movie?" I said, "No." He goes, "Watch the movie." And so when I watched the movie, I was just like watching Ryan Phillippe be so angry at everyone, right? Like he was so amped up and angry that I thought, okay, well, I guess that's really what I need to do, is just make Greg like beating the shit out of Anna around the fountain with the elbow slam. So the elbow slam I improv, like Keenan wasn't ready for that. But I told him, I said, what if I can jump really high, almost level with the camera, and come down with an elbow drop on Anna? And he goes, yeah, let's do it.
That psycho wants a piece of me? Bring it on. But I'm not going to jail. You got that?
So that's why my character in there, I kind of created this over hothead of Greg, yeah.
Anna Faris is an incredible talent too, so I'm sure, was she game to do what you wanted to do? Like,
Yeah, well, the funny thing with Anna, when Anna got Scary Movie, the only thing Anna that had done before Scary Movie was she was from Seattle, and she had done a Washington State yogurt commercial, and she had put herself on tape from her parents' living room when she got the part. Keenan wanted her, the studio didn't. Keenan tested her like 6 times for the role, and the studio kept saying no, that they needed a recognizable face. And finally they succumbed to him, and now, so Anna's plight in Hollywood has been, she had to fly there a couple times. She got picked up by a limousine, had to do a couple screen tests, then got the movie, and has never looked back, Has she ever slept on a couch? Did she ever eat craft dinner with 5 other actors that are all paying the same rent, you know. So yeah, I always, whenever I see Anna, I bugger about that. I go, wow, you struggled, huh? What a struggle that was, that flight from Seattle to LA.
It's a nice limousine that you rode in.
Yeah.
You know, being this is a horror con, I gotta ask you about Freddy versus Jason. What was it like being on that set? Did you grow up watching those movies at all?
No, the funny thing is, I really didn't. I mean, I knew about them and I'd seen them, but I wasn't like a big like fanatic horror movie person. So I actually they kept cutting scenes on me in Freddy versus Jason because I kept mispronouncing Jason. Is it Voorhees or Voorhees? Voorhees, right? Yeah, I kept saying Voorhees, Jason Voorhees. And they go, cut. I go, what? They're like, it's Voorhees. I'm like, I said Voorhees. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You said Voorhees. I'm like, what the fuck is it difference?
Tomato.
Right? I'm still making them Dutch. But yeah, so that was kind of, you know, I think that the director of the movie had trepidations about me doing Freddy versus Jason because of Scary Movie, because someone, when one of the producers said, hey, this is who I want to play this character in the movie, someone said, oh yeah, he was the cop from Scary Movie. Someone got me mistaken with Officer Doofy.
Oh, Dave Sheridan.
And so I think that he was like, I don't want a guy who played Officer Doofy to play Officer Stubbs. It just seems like people would not gel with that. And then finally someone said, oh, no, he didn't play that. So I ended up in the film just because of, I think it was just because of the popularity of Scary Movie at the time. But I can honestly tell you guys that when the working title of the movie was also Freddy versus Jason, and when people would ask me what movie I was doing, I wouldn't tell them because I thought it was so stupid. I was like, Freddy versus Jason? Like, this can't be the title, right? And so I would never tell anyone what movie I was shooting, because I was like, oh, of course they're going to change the title. And they didn't, and the movie became a hit, and I had egg in my face, I guess, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, it was funny because when the movie came out that weekend, I had teenage guys coming up to me like, I saw your movie 5 times, bro. I was like, what?
It's a Halloween classic.
I love it.
It's one of those movies that's kind of like lightning in the bottle, like no one has ever done that before.
Sure.
2 horror villains going at each other, so kind of part of history.
Yeah,
in a way.
exactly. Yeah. It was, but doing the movie was a lot of fun for me. I mean, Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child. It was her first film, and Jason Ritter, really great young guy. I mean, obviously we all have loved his dad's work forever. The young cast was really, really fun to work with. So I really did have a great experience doing the movie.
I can't recall, but did you have any scenes with Robert Englund?
No, I didn't come across it. You know, Stubbs was really there as exposition, right? I mean, I basically caught up every person who had no idea who Jason Voorhees was. I basically I was there to do that. So I never really came across, I don't even think Officer Stubbs knew that there was even that side of the movie. I think he only knew the Voorhees part, right? Yeah. You know, what's interesting is that, do you guys know the young actor Brad Renfro who ended up passing?
Yeah, The Client's a great movie.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little trivia here. So Jason Ritter's part was supposed to be played by Brad Renfro, because I knew Brad a little bit because we had mutual friends. He was much younger than me, but one of my friends, whenever Brad would come to LA, when he was like 14 or 15, one of my friends was kind of his guardian. So he would sort of take care of him while he was in town to do meetings with directors and stuff. So I used to take Brad to In-N-Out Burger in LA all the time when he was just a young kid, you know? And so when he got to Vancouver, he phoned me to say that he was there, and he goes, I heard you're doing the movie as well. He goes, I'm doing the movie. I said, oh, that's amazing, man. This would be fun to do together. And then the next day he phoned me and said, okay, it looks like I'm not doing the movie because I just peed in a cup, and, things didn't go so well with that side of it. So they've replaced Brad Renfro with Jason Ritter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would have been something else.
Yeah. Would have been different, right?
Yeah, his story is definitely a sad one. He was so talented.
He was, honestly, there were times, like when I got to know him, he was, like I said, 14 or 15. He would sit in the apartment of my friend's house with the guitar in his hand, with a cigarette at the end of the guitar, and he would play blues like he was a 70-year-old man. It was amazing. Like, this kid's maturity level and his soul was, like, yeah, that's why he was so talented. He did have that. He just got eaten up by the city, right? He didn't have a great upbringing, and he didn't have a lot of people that could guide him to what that city will do to young people when they become rich and famous, right? And he succumbed to it. That's the sad part.
And when you watch movies like The Bully, I just rewatched it recently. You could tell that he's such like he plays troubled so well, probably because he might have been a little troubled himself. But that movie's very eye-opening for him as an actor. It seems like.
When you were filming Freddy vs. Jason, I heard that X-Men was being filmed basically in the same town, and a lot of the cast shared a hotel. So, did you ever have any run-ins with the...
Well, the cool thing for me is I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada, right? So I have a home in Vancouver. Whenever, I shot Scary Movie there, I shot White Chicks there. Whenever I shoot things in Vancouver, I get to stay at my house.
It's like a homecoming.
I have a home there. So I always hear all the stories from all the hotel things from the cast the next day. I always hear all the stuff that goes on. But yes, there's a main hotel in Vancouver. Maybe not so much nowadays, but back then it was called the Sutton Place Hotel, and that's where everyone who was coming to work in Vancouver would stay. So, I mean, I remember, I'd be at a gym in Vancouver, and Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds would walk in, and, Reynolds was there doing Blade Trinity, and Hugh Jackman was there doing X-Men movies. And so, yeah, it's a small city, and when you get a bunch of films at the same time, you just see everyone all the time. It's kind of weird that way.
It's like the Hollywood of Canada, pretty much.
It really is. Yeah, it's Hollywood North, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And to piggyback onto that, you were in Riverdale with Skeet Ulrich, who did
Skeet. Yep.
Yeah, who did Scream, Itchy Parody. Have you guys ever spoken about that?
I don't think. I mean, I guess a little bit. I mean, Skeet and I also did a movie together way before Riverdale, and. I don't think that I don't think we ever really acknowledged the fact that I made fun of his movie. No, I think if I was to meet Ryan Phillippe, then there might be a conversation, you know what I mean? But, no, Skeet and I don't think we've ever really talked about it. It just feels like when we were doing Riverdale that those two were kind of like that whole world away,
Yeah.
But Riverdale shot in Vancouver. 7 years I got to live in my house. It was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, no traveling whatsoever.
Well, I mean, I live in LA, but you know what I mean? My kids moved up to Vancouver. They went to school in Vancouver for 7 years. It was great. It was really more difficult for all the other parents especially Skeet, because Skeet was in a situation where he was going through a breakup with his wife, and he has twins, a girl and a boy, and they were only 16 at the time. So Skeet could only come up, work, fly back. So he was doing that. I think he told me he flew 180 times while we shot Riverdale 1 year.
Wow.
Which
So you had it pretty good.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, it was good for me, for sure.
I gotta ask about your character, Cliff, from Dead Man on Campus.
My name is Cliff, brother of Joe. I got me some crack, I want me some hoes.
Let me hear you say yeah.
Yeah.
Let me hear you say yeah.
Yeah.
Let me hear you say yeah.
Let me hear you say yeah.
Dropping bars.
Okay, that weird mouth noise you do in the movie.
Okay, so I got, honestly, the stories I have of that movie right from the very first audition would mind blow you guys, I think. So that whole, like, sound. So the first day on set, the very first scene that I shot in that movie was when we pulled up to the cop and I said, would you please ask the officer where I-95 is? And Mark, Paul, and Tom were always like, because I got to really improv a lot of that movie. And I just, honestly, I amalgamated every hockey player I ever knew that I sat at the back of the bus on all the road trips that I've ever been. I amalgamated them all into one character, and that was Cliff O'Malley. And so Tom and Mark Paul would always they would have a hard time keeping a straight face just on some of the stupid shit I do.
I gotta hump this lamp. I gotta screw this couch.
And so while I was waiting for them to say a line, I just looked back while I was waiting, and for some reason I just went, and then we just kept that. We kept it as Cliff O'Malley's kind of weird thing that it does.
Signature trademark.
But that movie, Dead Man on Campus, was written by Mike White. That was one of his first movies. So Mike White wrote School of Rock. He wrote Orange County. He wrote all the White Lotus TV shows that you see. That's his stuff. So when I went into the audition, I decided that I was really going to create a memorable character. I thought, okay, this could be fun. So I went into the audition room. I had a pet snake. I had this. So I had a flannel on. I put a pet rubber snake in my pocket. I had a beer because there was a scene where I chug a beer, and you don't usually do this in audition rooms, but I thought I'm just going to go for it. So also Cliff in the script was supposed to always be popping second all and stuff, right? So what I did is I went, I got a bottle of, I just picked vitamin E pills. I bought a bottle of vitamin E pills from the pharmacy. I wrapped some white hockey tape around it, and I drew a skull and crossbones on it. So I had that in my pocket. Then I had a beer, and I put hockey tape around the beer just so they wouldn't know it was an actual beer. And so when I was about to do my rap song, My Name is Cliff, Brother of Joe, I just kind of made up my own rap song. And I popped the second all, and then I cracked the beer, and I started to chug the beer. Well, I didn't rehearse this at home. And what happened was the vitamin E pills reacted to the carbonated beer, and they started to foam. And I was doing this stupid rap song, and I got foam coming out of my mouth, and I've got a rubber snake, and I'm humping the casting director. Anything in her room, I was humping. I was doing the song. And then when I was done, the director was, honestly, he was looking at me like I was what the fuck? So then they said, okay, well, thanks so much. And I walked out of the room, and I think the first thing is, I think the casting person or the director said, okay, that's Cliff O'Malley, but what if he's Cliff O'Malley? What's going to happen on set if this is who this guy is? And they're like, no, he just created a character. So I was on Sunset, and there's a famous Mexican place called Taquito Moss. And I was on Sunset at Taquito Moss, and I got this little tap on my shoulder from this little, small, nebbishy, red-haired guy. And I turned around, he goes, hi, are you Lochlyn Munro? And I go, yeah. He goes, oh, my name's Mike White. I wrote Dead Men on Campus. Your audition tape is making rounds at Paramount. And he goes, I just saw your audition tape. He goes, oh my God. So my character was supposed to die in Dead Men on Campus. And Sherry Lansing, the head of Paramount, told them that character is not dying. And so that's kind of how, and that is how I ended up in Night at the Roxbury, because Roxbury was a Paramount movie as well, so.
I owe you big time for inviting me. Who wants to dance, huh? I call this one the sprinkler.
So yeah, man, that's my Dead Man on Campus saga.
That's incredible. Right now, we're going to take some audience questions. If y'all have any questions,
Yeah, if anybody has a question, we'll come around with the mic.
Yeah.
Somebody.
There's got to be questions after that story. It's like, are you saying?
As I think I recall, you were roommates with Jason Priestley?
No, so I started out with Jason Priestley in
Play
Vancouver.
hockey? Because I know he's...
No, so Jason was just in my circle. Like, honestly, there wasn't many actors in Vancouver back then. So Jason and I were just in a circle of like 5 to 8 guys who kind of were, doing work. Yeah, doing work in Vancouver. And Jason was the first one of our group to move to LA. And then he got 90210 and stuff like that. So that's how Jason and I knew each other. And then Brad Pitt used to come up to Vancouver and do some TV and stuff. And one of our good friends that was in our crew ended up actually moving to LA and living with Brad Pitt back in the day. So one of my friends was living with Brad Pitt when Brad Pitt had a little fling with Robin Givens while Robin Givens was dating Mike Tyson. And my buddy was at the house when Mike Tyson came and knocked on the door and said, "Is Brad here?" So my friend opened up the door and there's Mike Tyson standing on with a red face about to destroy anyone. So, yeah, that's a little Vancouver connection there.
Any other questions?
I love doing Peacemaker.
Oh, thank
How
you.
was the filming of the opening sequence? Are you a natural
Excruciating.
dancer? Yeah.
I know my dancing was excruciating. No, we had a lot of dance rehearsals for that one. Thank God they only ended up having snippets of everyone's certain dance because we had to learn the whole thing. It was crazy. But it's so James Gunn, that's quintessential Gunn. That was one of my favorite things I've ever done though. James Gunn's, he's just a cool guy. Got a great sense of humor. He's a wicked filmmaker, crazy ass artist. Every day the storyboard would be out for the crew to see that he drew. I don't know if you've ever seen some of the things that they've had on social media and stuff about all the boxes of all the storyboards that he did for Superman and stuff like that. But he's so diligent and he's amazing. So I really hope the Superman for the movie is really good because he really deserves it. He's really cool. But and he texted me and asked me what I was doing at the end of this month to maybe or maybe not be back on Peacemaker, but maybe. I can't, I'm sworn to secrecy, you guys, come on. Even though Fitzgibbon got I think Vigilante put his sword through my head, right? So, but James worked something out. You'll like it, yeah.
Anyone else? All right.
So is there anyone on your bucket list that you would absolutely just to die for work with, or any movie style that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Right. I think it'd be really interesting to be on set with Nick Cage, he's a guy that's fearless in his choices, whether you think he's whether you like him or you don't like him or you think he's too big or whatever, but man, to actually make choices the way that he works and for it to work the way it does, I think it'd be kind of cool to be on set with him. I'm sure that on my way home tonight, I'll be on the airplane and I'll try to text you and give you about 20 more that I could think of, but that's kind of I think that's one that comes to the top of my head. And there's times, I'm sure, those times, right?
If you could make a sequel to any of your movies, which character would you like to revisit?
I think Cliff, yeah.
Cliff? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Though it's funny, I played Cliff O'Malley before Red Bull. So that was all just coffee. So I couldn't imagine now that I have Monster and Red Bull at my disposal, I think I could really take Cliff O'Malley to another level. Yeah. But what's funny is some of the days I'd come back home, we shot a lot of the school stuff, like the university stuff, up in Stockton, California, which is just by Sacramento, because the University of the Pacific was kind of the only university around California that looked East Coast. A lot of brick and stuff. So we shot there, and I would go back to the hotel room every night, and I just like decompress, and my head was hurting so hard. And all I could think about was that Jim Carrey does this every day for 3 months. That's what I was always thinking. I'm like, how does he do it? How does he play Ace Ventura like every day for 3 months? It must be crazy.
So much energy.
Right?
It's a good person to channel, though. It's a good person
Yeah.
to look up to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
if he could do it, I could do it.
Exactly. And he's Canadian. I'm Canadian. I can do that.
The Canadian connection.
Right? He's as stupid as I am, so.
Any other questions out there? Anybody? Well, Lochlyn, what do you have coming up? Any projects?
Well, I may or may not be shooting something, so maybe I have a job. I don't know.
All right.
No, but I have a vampire movie coming out as well. I don't know if it's going to be great or not. It was a lot of fun to film, but I did that with Stephen Dorff and Mina Suvari and Tyrese Gibson. So that'll be out soon. Right now, I think they call it Vampires of the Velvet Lounge. I think that's what the title is, but. So I have that, and I have tons of friends who direct stuff, so that's why I always end up in, like, you flip through Hallmark, you're like, what the hell was he? He's on Hallmark. Well, it's because my friends direct shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, I end up on episodes of Tracker or NCIS because I've been around way too long and I know so many people. That's what it is. So I always forget that I have stuff coming out. One of my family members will phone me and go, bro, John from Office 7 said he just saw you on Tracker last night. Why didn't you tell us? I'm like, I don't know. Do I phone you every time you sell a window? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Like, I have to phone up everyone and go, hey, tonight, watch my episode of Moesha.
That would be an amazing group chat.
Right?
You pull some curtains, you're in Moesha.
Yeah, right.
You were in Moesha?
It's just hypothetical.
Good pull, though.
My very first ever job in LA, though, was Blossom. Do you remember that show?
Awesome.
Directed by Bill Bixby, who obviously from the Incredible Hulk. He was the original Incredible Hulk, right? Okay. Bill Bixby, yes. So then he passed away about a week after I filmed that show because he had cancer. 3 months later, I go down to Mexico. I do Wagons East. John Candy passes away on set. Now I'm starting to rethink about what my choices have been. I'm like, are they watching dailies? Is that what's going on? People are having a hard time watching my work? But yeah, that was a weird 3-month stretch, right?
Yeah, that would have been making you a little.
But working with John Candy, everyone, by the way. So him and I hit it off really well because I think I was 25 years old. I was the only other Canadian on the film. He loved lots of sports. He knew that I was a hockey guy, and him and I just hit it off. He used to invite me to his house that he rented down there, and we used to, he was just so amazing. And everyone always asked me to go, what was John Candy like? And I go, watch the movie Uncle Buck. And that's exactly who he was. He was awesome, man. That was a crazy time.
Yeah, I think there's a biopic coming out.
There is. I think Reynolds is involved with it, Ryan.
Nice.
And to tell you the truth, I should actually get a hold of Ryan, which, I used to do TV movies with Ryan Reynolds when he was like 14 years old, you know what I mean? Because he's from Vancouver as well. And I remember doing TV movies with him when he was just a big, skinny, geeky, gangly kid, Now he's a billionaire, soccer club owner. But, so when I did Wagons East, I had a video camera with me, which is pretty funny to say because back then they were the VHS cameras. So they were monstrous, right? It was like I had to check my video camera in just to get it on the plane. And so I have all the last video footage of John Candy ever because I used to do SCTV skits with him. I'd knock on his trailer door with my video camera, and we used to do a lot of his skits. And so I, without a doubt, have the last video footage of him ever. So I was thinking I should probably get a hold of Ryan and let him know that.
Is that on YouTube? Or is
I know.
Or in your closet?
No one's ever seen it except myself, my wife, and my kids.
Oh, that's
incredible.
Yeah.
Would you ever share it, or is it just so personal that you want
I don't know. I never really thought about it. I mean, maybe it would be interesting to share because, it's not like there's anything on there that, it's just John being John, and it was just me taping memories of shooting the movie. So, I wouldn't be opposed if Ryan wanted to have the video footage to put in there for sure. But yes, no one has ever seen it. Yeah. And I shot that movie, I mean, if you guys remember, John passed away and it was 1994. That's when I shot that film, so.
Well, if nobody else has any other questions, or hey,
That's it?
If you got some stories you want to share.
Oh God, yeah. Everyone's got to work tomorrow. Okay, I have tons of stories to share, man. I've been in this business 35 years, bro. 35 years, and I've been lucky to work with I've worked with Peter O'Toole. I've worked with Dennis Hopper, Robert Redford, Martin Sheen. It's just, and I'm a guy that when I work, I sit and watch and I listen and you know what I mean? Like listening to Peter O'Toole tell me stories about Lawrence of Arabia. It's just like, it's gold. You know?
Kind of can't get that anywhere else. That
No, you
one-on-one
can't.
connection.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Like working with Hopper, like I kept forgetting my lines when I worked with Dennis Hopper because I was so mesmerized by his voice and like, I was like, fuck, this is Dennis Hopper. It was, it was so weird. I learned the movie that I shot with him. I learned it like a play because Dennis had, at that point in his career, had to, sort of read cue cards a little bit. But every once in a while, he'd get on a run where he wouldn't need to use a cue card. And I'm like, no fucking way am I going to blow my line when he's on a run, right? So I learned his lines. I learned my lines. I never blew a line the whole movie just because I didn't want to be that guy. But man, that was a really cool moment working with him. And yeah, just tons of like little things like that throughout my career. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you definitely had a legendary career.
Yeah.
And
more to come. I'm really hoping to be the next Wilford Brimley.
With a simple diet and exercise program can help keep your diabetes under control.
So my goal is to do Cocoon 3. Is right. So when I can do Cocoon 3 and I can do Quaker Oat commercials, boom. Then I'm ready to just head to Mexico and chill.
You have to grow the stash out. If
Yeah,
you talk
for
about
sure.
Wilfred Brimley,
Yeah.
you've got to get the stash going.
Yeah, man.
It'll be an easy transition.
Oh yeah, for sure. It'll be good. Yeah.
all right. Well, Lochlyn, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks,
Thank you guys for coming out and watching.
Yeah, thanks, gang. I appreciate it.
Thank all of you for
Thanks for
showing up.
hanging.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Lon.